Imagine standing on the edge of an endless sea of sand, where the sun blazes mercilessly above you, and the only sound is the relentless whisper of the wind sweeping through the desolation. Each step sends a cloud of fine dust spiraling upwards, settling like a shroud on your weary legs. Your throat is parched, your tongue feels swollen, and the thought of water is more a cruel taunt than a distant hope. Tonight, we are looking at a story of survival against the suffocating vastness of the Gibson Desert. Here, in the heart of Australia's rugged outback, the search for uncharted territory turns into a desperate flight for life. Two explorers, John Giles and his companion, embarked on a perilous journey across this relentless landscape. Their thirst, once a distant pang, transforms into an all-consuming desperation as they navigate a waterless wasteland fraught with lethal challenges. As they traverse the barren expanse, the promise of discovery warps into a grim reality. The sun's unyielding gaze mirrors the stifling atmosphere, heavy with the weight of impending despair. They press on, step by tortuous step, battling not only the sweltering heat, but also the creeping dread of isolation. Each hour that passes is a reminder of their vulnerability in this vast, unforgiving environment. The Gibson Desert stretches endlessly before them, a harsh terrain that seems to mock their ambition. Scrubby vegetation offers little respite, offering only the harshest of sustenance. The ground shifts beneath their feet, sun-baked and unyielding, rendering them vulnerable to the whims of nature. As the days drag on and their water supply dwindles, a palpable sense of tension takes hold. Their situation grows more dire with each parched breath. What began as a grand exploration soon transforms into a struggle against the elements, an endeavor fraught with the grim realities of starvation and dehydration. With every desperate search for moisture, hope fades like a mirage on the horizon, and the burning sun becomes their relentless enemy. The stakes rise. The price of ambition is measured in the sweat of their brows and the torment of their aching bodies. This is the chilling tale of resilience amidst nature's harshest conditions, a testament to the stubbornness of the human spirit when faced with overwhelming odds. The Gibson Desert does not yield easily, and neither do the two explorers who dare to traverse it. They stand at the precipice of endurance and surrender, gripped by the stark truth. Survival in this wasteland is a tenuous thread. Tonight, we delve into the harrowing journey of John Giles and his companion as they confront the unforgiving reality of the Gibson Desert, a tale aptly titled, The Thirst of the Gibson, the Giles Crossing. Chapter 1. The Adventurous Spirits. John Giles stands at the edge of the known world, a horizon painted in shades of relentless red and orange. He gazes into the unforgiving vastness of Australia's interior, a land that promises adventure and danger in equal measure. The air shimmers with the heat of a merciless sun, unforgiving in its intensity. Giles has come to chart this territory, to inscribe its secrets onto maps that speak of land yet untouched by civilization. His faithful companion, a man named William O'Neill, stands slightly behind him. Together, they share a bond of unspoken understanding and shared ambition. O'Neill's eyes scan the horizon, and in that fleeting moment, he catches Giles's hopeful gaze. There is excitement, yes, but also a creeping awareness of the despair that may soon find them. Preparing for this venture, Giles and O'Neill have selected only the essentials. Their packs are burdened not just with supplies, but with heavy expectations. The sight of their dwindling resources will soon become a looming ghost over their journey, haunting their steps like a shadow. As they set forth, the land changes subtly yet imperceptibly. The strong aroma of eucalyptus hangs in the air, mingling with the gritty scent of parched dirt. A wind stirs, carrying with it a promise of coolness that dances on their sunburned skin. Such a brief moment of comfort amidst the relentless heat feels almost treacherous, the calm before a storm of hardship. Days pass with little variation. The environment pulls them deeper into its hidden recesses, flaying their skin with heat during the day and chilling them in the dark hours of night. Sleep eludes them as the endurance of exploration begins to fracture under the strain of discomfort. Giles feels each night consumed by a hunger that lingers like an insistent echo, a reminder of their dwindling provisions. In the harsh mornings, they pack their gear, the sensation of rough fabric against calloused fingertips a permanent reminder of their struggle. Water turns scarce as they move further from the last known wells. Sand grains slip beneath their boots, the crunch a constant accompaniment to the cadence of their thoughts. With each step, there is a sense of inevitability that blankets the journey. They are moving into a consumptive embrace. Scurvy begins to gnaw at the edges of their vitality. The fresh fruits and vegetables, a distant memory, are now replaced by energizing thoughts of sustenance that never arrives. The first signs are subtle, a sluggishness in their movements and the faint sting of swollen gums. These early symptoms hang over them like a thundercloud, dimming the fervor of exploration into a hazy fatigue. Far beyond the landscape, beyond the sun-bleached dunes and twisted trees, the reality of isolation descends like a thick fog. The twilight evenings offer little solace. Instead, they are a battlefield of gnawing thoughts and whispering fears. Each night stretches out infinitely, filled with tales of survival that feel increasingly unreal. At times, they catch glimpses of native wildlife, a timid kangaroo leaping away, startled by the intruders in its domain. Such moments are fleeting and remind them they are not the only inhabitants of this vast wilderness. The land thrives, and yet here they stand, frail mortals grappling with its indifference. A week drags into 2, and the weight of their supplies presses down on their shoulders. Giles examines their dwindling rations beneath the oppressive sun as it sinks low on the horizon. His heart, once buoyant with the thrill of discovery, begins to take on a weighty despair. Thoughts of starvation cast a long shadow on their pursuit, whispering doubts where there had been hope. O'Neill's laughter echoes sharply in the stillness, a sound now tinged with an edge of madness. "We'll be the first to document the Gibson's depths," he says, though it's a hollow triumph that hangs in the air. Their spirits tethered by thin threads, they continue forward, propelled by faded images of glory. One afternoon, they reach a vast expanse of broken ground. The earth is cracked, fissures yawning wide like gaping mouths. The sun beats down mercilessly, and for a moment, a heavy silence envelops them. There is something primordial about the land around them, a shared history of struggle woven in the very fabric of the soil. As they take a moment to rest, they hear the soft rustle of the wind through the withered, brittle leaves. It is an echo of their minds, capturing the sensation of their fatigue, of their resolve under constant assault. At this place, time feels suspended, a moment of reflection amid the chaos of survival. The heat radiates off the ground, making every breath feel labored. They pull their water skins, and to their dismay, the precious liquid swirls within only a fraction of what they had begun with. The realization is a harsh dawn, awakening the chilling spectre of hopelessness that slinks closer with each passing day. As the sun dips below the horizon, the world turns into shades of blue and black, shrouded in darkness. They make camp, gathering what little energy they have left. O'Neill leans against a gnarled tree, his breath coming in labored gasps. The ceaseless solitude and physical deprivation gnaw away at his spirit. Giles watches the stars punctuate the indigo sky, each distant flame a reminder of the vastness of their isolation. Here they are, reduced to mere specks on a desolate map, fighting against the relentless embrace of nature. The voice of the earth whispers truths he cannot contain as he finds himself, once again, lost in thought about survival. They are but explorers, now wrestling with the very essence of existence. The air thickens with the weight of their decisions. Each day brings new doubts and unfamiliar territory, one foot dragging behind the other, a testament to their resolute determination despite fatigue. It is in these moments that the heart of the wilderness beats loudest, reminding them of the limits of their own fragility. The desert wind curls around them, carrying dust and particles that worm their way into every exposed inch of skin. There is a stark beauty in the land, but within lies a dangerous juxtaposition, a lurking threat that lies in wait. Failure to respect that balance could lead to dire consequences. As they prepare for another day of navigating the unyielding landscape, the encroaching darkness seems to whisper warnings. The temperature has dropped to a biting chill, the chill of which seeps deep into their bones. Their dreams, once filled with visions of recognition, now twist in the night, filled with the acrid fear of untold deprivation. With early dawn, a grey haze blankets the horizon, signaling the arrival of another day marked not just by pursuit, but perhaps by dread. The whispers of desolation fill the air around them, echoed back in their own thoughts. Tomorrow may hold new challenges, but as the sun pulls itself over the eastern ridge, there is that inevitable realization. They are no longer merely explorers. They are now survivors trapped in the very heartbeat of the Gibson. Before we descend further into the dark, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You won't want to face the rest of this journey alone. And before we continue, drop a comment and tell me where in the world you are watching from tonight. Knowing you are out there, somewhere in the dark, makes this history feel all the more alive. Chapter 2. Signs of Dread. The sun hangs high in the cloudless sky, its rays like daggers piercing the parched earth of the Gibson Desert. Day 1 of their journey, the men of the expedition press forward, the heat radiating off the ground, a shimmering mirage that mocks their thirst. Dust envelops them, clinging to their skin and infiltrating breaths. As the temperature climbs, the horses begin to sweat. The leather saddles absorb the moisture, making the riders increasingly aware of their own discomfort. Each heartbeat resonates with the urgency of their mission, but it is belied by the growing dread that rolls through the group like a distant thunder. The landscape shifts beneath their feet. Endless stretches of sand intermingle with sparse tufts of scrub. The hard, cracked ground offers little promise of water. A day passes, and the men share uneasy glances as the meager rations dwindle. Each ounce of water saved feels like a ticking clock, counting down to their inevitable breaking point. They march onward under the oppressive sun, the horizon bending under its weight. Thirst lingers in their throats, a constant reminder of their vulnerability. Chapped lips crack as the last drops of water are dispensed into parched mouths, creating the grim rolls of rationing that will define their journey. A feeling of isolation creeps in, amplified by the silence that envelops them. The song of the birds, once an accompaniment to their trek, falls silent. Only the soft thuds of hooves on the earth punctuate the stillness, every sound magnified in this vast emptiness. In the evenings, the chill descends. They can feel the stark contrast as temperatures plummet. Layers of clothing, once discarded to combat the heat, are hastily pulled back on. The cold seizes their bones, and night arrives with a cruelty that steals sleep from their weary eyes. The stars twinkle down in cold indifference. Then, the first sign manifests. A horse stumbles, its legs buckling beneath it before it collapses on the ground, helpless. The men rush to its side, their hearts pounding, lactic acid flooding their limbs from the desperate exertion. There is no brutality in the collapse, only a gentle yield to the merciless earth. They are met with the same look of despair in the creature's dark eyes. The realization strikes them, a stark reminder of their situation, the inability of both man and beast to defy such harsh elements. The horse is swiftly dispatched, sharing its last sustenance among the men. A haunting decision, founded on survival instinct, settles heavy on their hearts. Each day bleeds into the next, a rhythm of relentless heat and crushing thirst. Their bodies begin to break down. Each footfall becomes a laborious task, an exercise in stretching their fading willpower. The air grows thick with resignation as the explorers adjust their daily expectations, now steeped in loss and resignation. Hours stretch into an eternity as they struggle to maintain pace. Every hour brought another jaw-clenching moment, a mate fainting, a horse whinnying in distress. Exhaustion seeps deep into their souls, the boundary of vitality blurring with despair. Each footstep feels like a prayer, a hope cast into the landscape. On day 4, they come across a dry creek bed. The banks yawn wide, cracked earth exposed like an open mouth with no words of relief, only desolation. They scan the horizon for signs of life, a shimmer of water, anything to reflect the blue of the sky. Nothing. Only barren land stretches forward, and hope becomes a flickering candle, wavering in the persistent wind. Conversations begin to dwindle. The men become ghosts of their former selves, shadows that move and breathe but seldom speak. Thoughts are consumed by thirst and desperation. Each crack in their resolve echoes louder in the oppressive silence. The sun continues its assault, relentless against their weakened bodies. The men cannot tell if pits of dizziness rise from dehydration or the weight of their accumulated worries. They collapse under the open sky, eyes drawn up to the empty expanse, the sun denying them solace, the night offering no comfort. On the morning of day 6, they witness the first true collapse of their remaining supplies. One man, fatigued beyond measure, mistakenly triggers a spill of precious water. Flasks roll into the dust, their contents drenching the thirsty earth. A collective gasp circles among them, choking back the horror of their misfortune. The sun burns overhead, a constant reminder of their fleeting moments. It can feel a shift in the air, an unsteady balance that suggests change is imminent. The immense heat casts a pall on their spirits, but the weight of their reality grows even heavier. They are alone, encased within an unyielding desert, faded echoes of civilization long behind them. With dread settling ever deeper into their bones, they find themselves haunted, not by ghosts, but memories of laughter, the warmth of companionship fashioned by shared optimism. Memories of water, laughter, and purpose drift away like a mirage. As they push into the expanse of the Gibson Desert, the truth surfaces, a grim understanding of their predicament. They fight not only the elements, but the psychological toll of isolation, fear creeping in with each flickering heartbeat. And as they gaze upon the barren horizon, a realization washes over them. The unforgiving landscape is shifting, and the expanse may swallow them whole. Tomorrow, the struggle may evolve. The land might be even more ruthless. They silently wonder, how long can the living endure the thirst of the Gibson? In the fading light, hope starts to wither, but somehow they must find a way to carry on amid the signs of dread that grow ever louder in the stillness. The dust settles over the arid landscape, a thick veil that coats everything in a muted pallor. The explorers of the Grafton press onward, their urgency palpable amid the oppressive silence of the vast desert. Each footfall kicks up grains of dry earth, sapping their strength with every step. It is the sheer monotony of the terrain that gnaws at their resolve. Every ridge looks like the last, every distant silhouette a mirage. There are no signs of water, no glimmers of life, just sun-bleached earth stretching endlessly before them. The horses, their once proud vitality fading, struggle under the weight of saddles and supplies. With heads hanging low, they trudge forward, hooves scraping against the unforgiving ground. The explorers glance back, anxiety tightening their chests. Some horses falter, muscles quivering, bodies trembling from thirst. Beneath the scorching sun, the temperature rises. It creeps into the 40s, where the heat wraps around them like a suffocating shroud. The explorers feel it gnawing at them. Each breath of dry air burns their throats. It is a cruel reminder of their precarious situation. A quick assessment reveals the reality. They are outnumbered by their own dependents. 3 horses are then forced to stop, their wide eyes blinking in disbelief as weakness overtakes them. The explorers find themselves in a terrible urgency, but what can they do? There is no water, no respite. The first loss comes as a shock. They had expected the journey to be arduous, yet the severity of their plight becomes glaringly unavoidable when a sturdy horse stumbles, collapsing onto the ground with a heavy thud. Its body hits the earth with a finality that echoes in the still air, a sound that will forever haunt the minds of those who bear witness. Men rush to the animal's side. Their hands, calloused and worn, pat its neck, searching for signs of resurgence, of some flicker of life. But the horse breathes shallowly, nostrils flaring as it struggles against the heavy weight of exhaustion. The explorers can feel their hearts aching alongside the beast. They gather in a huddle, despair mingling with the dust of the desert. Thoughts swirl around, like the dry winds that lick at their faces. Every explorer knows the gravity of this moment. The animal that has carried their supplies, their gear, their hopes, is fading. Its breath steadies, weakening, until it is barely a whisper against the backdrop of their desperation. Food and water dwindling, they exchange worried glances, weighing grim alternatives. The animals are not merely means of transportation, they are lifelines. Losing them means losing everything. The stench of sweat mixes with the acrid scent of dust. They cannot afford to linger, yet the image of the fallen horse leaves a bitter taste in their mouths. They stand separated from the very existence they had planned. In the end, they must leave it behind, abandoning the noble creature to the very earth from which they seek to coax sustenance. Silent tears mingle with the dust, as some dare to utter a prayer, but even those whispers are swallowed by the relentless winds. As they turn away, a weight falls heavier on their shoulders. Each step away from the fallen horse feels like a betrayal, an abandonment of their trust. Their eyes dart between the remaining steeds, noting the signs of fatigue etched across their frames. Each new stumble sends ripples of anxiety through the group. Night descends with an eerie quiet, the temperature plummeting sharply. The explorers huddle together, sharing warmth against the relentless cold that seeps into their bones. The forest of stars above gleams coldly, indifferent to their plight. The reality of their journey gnaws like the hunger in their bellies. Soon, someone stands, a silhouette illuminated by the dim light of the campfire. "It will only get worse," he declares, though his voice is low, nearly drowned out by the crackle of flames. They sit and contemplate the implications of their choices. The harsh truth reverberates among them, solid and unyielding. They must find water. Each man can feel time slipping away through their fingers, like the sand beneath their feet. In the dark of night, with the temperature now frozen at the cusp of survival, they know they must reevaluate their plan. Perhaps they can scale the cliffs ahead, follow the distant sound of trickling water, if only they can reach it before their remaining horses collapse. A moment of clarity washes over them, the stark realization that life and death depend on the decisions made in the hours ahead. The air grows thin with anticipation as they prepare for a journey into the unknown, each heartbeat echoing the heavy toll of their losses. As they gather their supplies, with trembling hands, an unsettling wind picks up, sending chills through the night. They tread carefully, nerves taut. The first loss lingers in their minds, a haunting spectre urging them forward. With the horizon stretching taut, they can only wait for the twilight hour when the first glimmers of dawn break, a reminder that under the vast sky, hope remains somewhere ahead, waiting to be discovered in desperate measures. Chapter 4. A terrifying decision. The sun hangs low in the sky, a grim spectre that barely casts warmth across the icy landscape. Each breath is a cloud of vapor, dissipating quickly in the frigid air. Edward Giles, worn and weary, squints into the distance. The snow stretches endlessly, an unforgiving white plain, marred only by the occasional jagged rock or dead tree. The temperature has dropped, dipping to a staggering -40. It bites mercilessly at exposed skin. The last vestiges of warmth have long since fled their bodies. Giles can feel his fingers stiffen, the chill seeping deep into his bones. And the The water runs low. It has become an obsession. Every drop, a lifeline to the next moment, the next hour. The small canister sits between them, a cruel reminder of their dire circumstances. The once ample supply now dwindles, mocking them with its finality. Across the frozen expanse stands Malcolm, his companion, a testament to the toll the journey has exacted. The lines etched into his face tell the story of fatigue and fear. They exchange a glance. The question hangs heavy in the air. What is the next step? What horrible fate awaits them if they do not act? Giles knows the gravity of their situation. Help is miles away, perhaps days when traversing this desolate terrain. To send Malcolm for assistance, leaving behind the last of their water and each other, is a decision laden with dread. Malcolm, Giles speaks, his voice low and strained. The words feel foreign in his throat. He gestures toward the bleak horizon. Malcolm stands silent, eyes darting as he processes the unthinkable. The idea of separation weighs down on him, like the heavy blankets of snow surrounding them. Each breath seems to whisper the horrors of what lies ahead, in the wilderness, cold, and solitude. Giles runs a hand across his face, brushing away a fresh layer of frost. They cannot remain stationary. Their survival depends on decisive action, yet the act of division sends chills deeper than the cold itself. Visions of Malcolm stumbling over frozen ground flood Giles's mind. He pictures his friend, alone, struggling to find the strength to push against the elements. If he falls, there will be no one to help him. The fear gnaws at Giles's insides, coiling tighter with each passing moment. The silence hangs oppressive between them. Each breath becomes a reminder of their vulnerability. The isolation stretches as wide as the landscape. The last remaining water remains untouched between them, fragile and vital. "Go," Giles finally whispers, the words spilling out like a prayer. Malcolm's face twists in anguish. Leave him behind? A pact of survival hangs in the balance, exactly what must be forfeited. With every passing second, the moment stretches and warps, forcing them to confront their mortality. To remain together may mean the slow, inevitable decline into despair. But to send Malcolm away introduces uncertainty, the possibility of hope, but accompanied by terrifying unknowns. Eyes dart across the horizon, scanning for the faintest sign of salvation. Is the journey worth the risk? Will there be any return? The weight of the decision coalesces into a single piercing realization. Against the horizon, the jagged peaks loom, reminders of treacherous terrain. Shadows linger in the stark light, teasing with the promise of discovery, yet haunted by the sinister vastness stretched before them. Finally Malcolm nods, barely perceptibly. The resolve in his gaze hardens, but it is also laced with fear. His heart races, an instinctual response to the knowledge of isolation creeping in. He knows he must leave. It is the only chance. Slowly, they gather their meager supplies, an old map, a few rations, and the thin layer of protection against the relentless cold. Each item is a lifeline, but none holds solace. They share one last, lingering look. An unspoken farewell hangs in the air, heavy with unacknowledged dread. Malcolm steps back, crossing the threshold into the vast unknown. Each step feels like the weight of the world pressing against his back. The crunch of snow underfoot amplifies the eerie silence, a stark reminder of all that lies between them. Giles stands still, anchored to the snow beneath his feet, each breath a laborious triumph against the bleak reality. He feels a deep hollowness pooling within him, a gnawing absence where companionship used to thrive. The horizon consumes Malcolm, inching further from view, swallowed by the desolation. Giles feels his heart quicken, a conflict throbbing within him. Was it the right choice? He turns, glancing back at the canister. The last of the water seems to shimmer, a cruel mirage in the harsh light. The temptation to abandon reason for survival whispers incessantly. Hours pass, or maybe just moments. Time blurs into a shapeless mass beneath the weight of Giles's thoughts. He stares into the distance, where Malcolm disappeared, straining for any sign of life. The air grows heavier, thickening with the foreboding chill of solitude. Snow begins to fall lightly, at first, flurries twirling down like delicate feathers, but soon it intensifies, transforming into blinding sheets that envelop the landscape. The world around him turns silent, the chaos of the storm muffling all sound. Giles pulls his jacket tighter around himself, grounding himself against the furious environment. The wind picks up, slicing through the air with a fierce bite. The temperature seems to plummet even further, a relentless force that consumes warmth. He swallows hard, the dryness of his throat an ominous reminder of what remains scarce. The last memories of laughter shared, the warmth of companionship, these now cling to him, phantoms of bygone days. The flurry escalates, engulfing the white landscape into a cloud of swirling chaos. He can no longer see the spot where Malcolm once stood, where a fellow survivor had counted on him for courage. Giles clenches his fists, the cold numbing his fingers. A sensation akin to dread sets in, tightening around his chest. Something shifts within him, a gnawing uncertainty settles in his gut. Each gust of wind carries whispers of the unforgiving wilderness, a reminder of the wild and raw power of nature. Giles knows that survival is a solitary struggle now, yet still, he grapples with a haunting notion. What sacrifices lie ahead? Would there even be an opportunity for reunion? He squints into the storm, and for a fleeting moment imagines the chance of hope glimmering on the horizon. But as the blizzard engulfs him, the impending realization presses down like the weight of the winter sky. Each second stretches, every moment a testament to the relentless passage of time. Giles knows he must hold on to that flicker. He must survive. Yet as the world becomes an impenetrable wall of snow, he feels the darkness close in, testing the fabric of his being. With the last of his water and the last of his companion, he stands on the brink of despair. Each breath becomes a prayer as the storm howls and shifts, holding the promise of uncertainty in its icy grasp. And in those moments, all that remains is a fragile thread of hope, a hope that Malcolm's journey might lead them both to safety. But the question lingers, will the threads hold? Chapter 5, The Long Walk begins. The sun hangs low on the horizon. Its light sears the land, casting long shadows over the vast expanse of unforgiving desert. The air shimmers with heat, distorting reality in the distance. Giles stands at the edge of the encampment, watching his companion prepare for a journey fraught with despair. The desiccated landscape stretches endlessly before them, an ocean of cracked earth and blistering sand. His companion, a man hardened by years of hardship, adjusts the meagre supplies strapped to his back. Water, scant and invaluable. A small quantity, just enough for the hours ahead, if not consumed too quickly. Each movement is deliberate, almost ritualistic, a final check of gear, ensuring nothing essential is left behind. As the last rays of sun slip away, a chill seeps into the air, but it is fleeting. The oppressive warmth returns with the night, a constant reminder of the inhospitable terrain ahead. There is no farewell, only the hollow sound of boots striking the ground as he begins to traverse the desolate stretch of the desert. Every step is an act of defiance against despair, an assertion of will in a land that offers none. The first moments bring a deceptive calm. The night's coolness offers a brief comfort, but it evaporates with the dawn. Soon the sun ascends, and with it the heat returns, relentless. From the very start he battles the elements. Sweat beads on his forehead, trickling into his eyes. The salt stings. His throat, parched and dry, begs for moisture. He swallows, but the act brings little relief. The landscape offers no solace. Jagged rocks protrude from the sand, their surfaces radiating leftover heat from the day before. The terrain shifts underfoot, each step a reminder of the inhospitable world surrounding him. The sound of crunching sand fills the air, incessant and monotonous. There is a vastness that engulfs him, a profound silence, punctuated only by the distant call of a bird or the whisper of wind across the barren land. He feels as though he is a solitary figure against the universe, dwarfed by the enormity of the desert. Time becomes distorted here. An hour may slip into an eternity, each moment stretching like the shadows cast by the setting sun. He carries hope, though it grows fragile with every passing mile. Each step forward also takes him deeper into uncertainty. He recalls the stories told around fires, warnings of the harshness looming ahead, parched throats and sun-blasted skin, wandering souls lost to the desert's insatiable appetite. His water supply dwindles, the weight of the canteen a reminder of his growing desperation. He calculates his steps, each one a measure of life or death. When he pauses, he listens intently for the sound of rescue. The rhythm of his heart beats in his ears, a steady pulse against the overwhelming quiet. The sun climbs higher, its rays intensifying. He searches the horizon, longing for an oasis that remains elusive. Every glance holds the fragile hope of a shimmer of water, but the desert offers only mirages. His mind begins to unfurl, each thought leading him down a precarious path. The notion of survival intertwines with the memory of companionship. Images flash, laughter shared, warmth around a fire, the camaraderie forged in trials. Now, solitude grips him like the unforgiving sun. He presses on, ignoring the gnawing pain in his muscles and the unrelenting thirst. The ache of hunger lingers, a dull reminder that sustenance is as distant as the hope of salvation. He can almost taste the sweet relief of food, but it remains just beyond reach. The endless horizon blurs as exhaustion sets in. Shadows dance before his eyes, and he wonders if his mind is succumbing to the harshness, to the relentless march of time. Each step feels heavier than the last, yet he possesses no choice but to move forward. The sun, now a merciless orb, hangs above, almost mocking in its presence. Heat waves distort the landscape, making it surreal, ethereal. He grips the canteen tightly, waiting for the moment when he should sip, a precious ration to extend his life just a moment longer. There is a stillness broken only by the distant sound of shifting sand. It whispers secrets, echoes of those who have passed before him, leaving behind silhouettes of despair. He wonders how many have stood where he stands now, teetering between hope and the brink of despair. Hours blur into each other. Day turns into an unrelenting continuum of heat and thirst. The once predictable rhythm of his breathing changes, becoming shallow, punctuated by gasps for air that seems to vanish in the dry atmosphere. Dusk is no savior. It brings coolness, yet it also lures forth the hidden dangers that thrive in the shadows. The desert awakens at night, its eerie stillness turning into a cacophony of unseen life. The air hums, filled with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, a reminder that he is not alone in this desolation, but he is profoundly alone, isolated by his choices and the landscape that traps him. Each hour that passes brings a deeper understanding of his vulnerability. The crippling realization settles that no one knows he is out here. No one knows of his struggle. With the limits of his endurance tested, he surveys the land for markers, landmarks, signs of life, anything that might indicate a course to pursue. A distant ridge shimmers in the fading light. There is an urge to speed up, to reach it before the night unfolds fully, but his body betrays him, fatigue, overwhelming the desire to push forward. He pauses once more, allowing the stillness to wrap around him. For a moment, he closes his eyes, visualizing the comfort of a safe haven. The taste of cool water quenches his thirst momentarily in his imagination. But as the sun slips below the horizon, plunging him into the heavier darkness, reality grips him again. The endless night stretches before him. He knows he must move on, even though each footfall weighs heavily, like a stone in his shoe. The sound of the desert echoes around him, urging him forward, while the weight of uncertainty presses down. There is no turning back now. Equipped with only fleeting hopes, he takes a deep breath, staving off the overwhelming panic rising within. A faint rustle in the distance pulls his attention, causing his heart to quicken. Was it merely the wind, or a creature scouring the night for sustenance? He knows he cannot let fear seize him. He must continue onward, one step followed by another, adrift in the vast expanse of night, in search of something more than mere survival. With the stars beginning to blanket the sky above, he inches forward, against the infinite blackness that looms around him. But the path remains ever uncertain. The unforgiving expanse of the desert stretches eternally, with no sign of relief in sight. Each moment brings a revelation of solitude, of life hanging in precarious balance. And as he presses into the night, eyes straining against fatigue, the gripping realization settles heavily. The journey is far from over, and the greatest challenges lie ahead. Chapter 6. Isolation and Despair. The sun is relentless, a merciless orb hanging in the sky. Every surface radiates heat, making the air shimmer with a mirage-like distortion. Giles stands alone, the desolation around him astonishingly vast. He is surrounded by an expanse of parched earth, cracked and dry. The ground seems to stretch on forever, a brutal reminder of the scarcity that surrounds him. Each step he takes sends small clouds of dust swirling into the air. The grains of sand cling to his skin, gritty and abrasive. Rationing has begun in earnest. The last few drops of water sit ominously in a small container, their glistening surface a cruel imitation of life. He knows he must save it for the hottest hours, but the thirst gnaws at his throat, a constant reminder of his isolation. Every gulp feels like a privilege. He allows himself only a few sips each day, testing his will against the fiery heat. With each careful ration, hope slips further away, feeling heavier than the sun above. The sensation of despair creeps in, settling into the corners of his mind like a dark shadow. Days blend together, defined only by the rhythms of thirst and fatigue. The silence is palpable, broken only by the occasional soft rustle of parched leaves in the dry wind. Each gust whispers the secrets of the barren landscape, carrying with it the memory of what was. Feels as if the land itself mourns. In the distance he spots a mirage. It shimmers enticingly, a glimmer of water perhaps, but also a cruel trick of the desert. His heart races at the illusion, not because he believes it real, but because his mind clings to hope. He walks towards it, his feet heavy with exhaustion. As he approaches, it vanishes. All that remains are dry stones and sun-bleached soil. Each disappointment lingers like an echo, amplifying the waste of his energy, draining his resolve. The body must survive, but the mind wrestles with despair. It whispers insidiously that every step is fruitless. At night, the temperatures plummet. The cool air bites at his skin, piercing through the thin cloth of his clothing. Wrapping his arms around himself, he curls up beneath the shivering stars. They shine down as indifferent spectators, casting their dim light over his plight. Dreams become elusive, filled with haunting images of flowing rivers and lush forests. He yearns for the tactile feel of life, a reminder of the thirst that is so much more than a physical need. His spirit strains against the weight of loneliness. Every moment stretches, each tick of time echoing in the silence. Each morning greets him with the sun's relentless return. He rises, limbs aching, mind foggy and clouded with despair. He knows he must face the day again, and yet the thought of it feels insurmountable. How long can he endure this isolation? His resolve crumbles each night. The sound of the wind morphs into a haunting whisper, carrying the echoes of forgotten voices. Shadows create figures that loom in the corners of his vision, but he knows they are products of a tired mind and longing. He pens his thoughts in a small worn journal. Ink, once vibrant and flowing, struggles to emerge from the pen. Each word is a battle against despair, an attempt to stake his claim against the creeping madness. Yet, the thoughts often spiral, revealing a deep-seated fear. What if he is forgotten here? As days stretch on, he notes the dwindling supplies. The last shreds of food remain, stripped down to bare rations. Each morsel carries the weight of survival. It becomes a fragile lifeline. He bites, chews slowly, focusing his thoughts on preservation and the little promise of sustenance it holds. Yet, the hunger gnaws at him, an animalistic urge that grows sharper with each passing day. The membrane between hunger and delirium thins, and he fights against the rising tide of despair that pulls him under. The isolation feels now like a tangible weight pressing down upon his chest. Time no longer has meaning. Each hour blends into the next, marked only by his aching body and the endless rhythm of thirst. He oscillates between moments of quiet clarity and engulfing confusion, lost in a labyrinth of his mind. The landscape itself feels threatening. The dry brush mocks him, a desolate mirror reflecting his own condition. It has become a battleground, not against an enemy, but against the crushing weight of isolation and despair. He stares into the endless horizon, searching for any sign of rescue, any dust cloud of movement in the distance. The heat waves distort his view, but even his imagination falters. The vastness offers no reprieve, only the reminder that he is utterly alone. As the sun dips below the horizon, the landscape transforms into a palette of deep oranges and purples. In those fleeting moments, hope flickers like a candle against the dark. He allows himself the illusion of comfort, but knows that the night will bring back the chills, the gnawing emptiness. Each night, he reminds himself of stories from his past, memories woven with the fabric of friendship and camaraderie. Yet, those recollections fade like the daylight, replaced by a solitude that feels ever more suffocating. Alone, he battles with visions of a storm brewing, thunder rumbling in the distance. He clings to the thought of rain. The sound of it would be a symphony of relief, but hope is swiftly followed by reality, as the clouds remain stubbornly far away, mocking him with their presence. In moments of lucidity, he grapples with his situation. Each thought feels like a lead weight dragging him deeper into despair. The sun rises again, a cruel reminder that survival is an uphill battle, and yet, beneath the despair lies a subtle undercurrent of defiance. He is still here, still fighting against the isolation that threatens to engulf him. As hope dwindles like water in a cracked vessel, he senses a shift. But just as he begins to draw breath, a realization washes over him. The remaining rations might not sustain him through another day. He feels the gnawing fear again. What happens when the last of the resources are gone? As the sun sets once more, casting long shadows over the parched earth, Giles stands at the precipice of understanding. The isolation wraps tighter around him, and the despair deepens like a dark tide rising. How much longer can he endure? Each minute ticks by, heavier than the last. Perhaps tomorrow will bring change, or perhaps it will bring the end. The vastness of the desert looms, vast and unchanged, as the night descends and the quiet grows thicker. Chapter 7. Nature's Cruelty. The sun hangs high in an expanse of relentless blue. Its rays beat down, unyielding, an uninvited intruder upon the already scorched earth. The horizon shimmers with a heat that distorts the landscape, creating a surreal illusion. It is the desert, a vast wasteland, unforgiving and indifferent. Giles trudges onward, each step a reminder of fatigue and despair. The soles of his boots grind against the abrasive sand, particles swirling up, kissing his skin with a stinging caress. Sweat beads on his forehead, trickling down his temples, mingling with the grit caked into his brow. Thirst grips him like a vice. The temperature soars, reaching intolerable heights. His throat feels like a desert, itself parched and cracked. Each breath draws air that scorches his lungs, a reminder of the relentless sun's harsh embrace. He presses on, spurred by a flicker of survival instinct buried deep within. With every hour, his body betrays him. Muscles weaken, legs tremble beneath him. He fights the urge to collapse, to surrender to the sand that beckons with false promises of rest. He can almost hear its gentle whispers, telling him to lie down, to close his eyes, to forget. But nature shows no mercy. The wind begins to stir, a biting current that cuts through the desert heat. It howls and breathes, rattling the sparse vegetation, throwing dust into the air. Giles squints against the stinging grit, feeling the sand scratch against his skin. It is relentless, a fine mist of particles that obscures the only path forward. The sun sinks lower, and shadows stretch long across the arid ground. But the respite from the sweltering heat is deceiving. As twilight descends, the temperatures plummet. They drop sharply, a jarring contrast, a cruel twist in nature's narrative. The warmth that had suffocated him mere hours ago now escapes, replaced by a bone-chilling cold that bites at exposed skin. He wraps his arms around himself, but there is no comfort to be found. The chill seeps into his bones. He can feel his joints stiffening with every passing moment. The gnawing hunger in his stomach is eclipsed by a desperation to hold on to warmth, hold on to life. Giles stumbles along the rugged terrain, the weight of exhaustion bearing down heavily. His thoughts drift to the water he once took for granted, the clean, crisp taste of coolness, now a distant memory, replaced by a parched void that echoes in his empty stomach. He remembers how it felt to quench his thirst, to feel the flow sliding down his throat, refreshing and revitalizing. Now, that memory feels like a cruel joke. His mind is a collage of fragments, the sunlit days, the biting winds, the anguish of dry lips. Coherent thoughts slip through his fingers like grains of sand. Sometimes, he thinks he hears water. The imagined sound lures him, resonates deep in his bones, a siren's call. His senses betray him, conjuring visions of shimmering pools and waterfalls cascading over smooth stones. Desperation mounts. He continues to walk, to push through the haze of dehydration clouding his judgment. There is a flicker of movement, shadows darting in the distance, a mirage, a spark of hope. He squints, but the shapes dissolve into the harshness of the midday sun. The landscape remains stubbornly unchanged. Sand dunes rise and fall like the swell of some ancient sea, eternally unyielding. There is no sanctuary here, only the stretch of arid land that seems to mock his efforts. And then the winds shift again. A sudden gust pushes against him, forcing him to brace himself against the unseen force. He can taste the dust settling in the back of his throat, a gritty reminder of his vulnerability. Each inhalation burns, and he stumbles, clutching his side, trying to reclaim the breath that eludes him. Dehydration is a cunning enemy. It gnaws at his will, sapping his determination. An acute awareness fills his senses, the lack of moisture pooling inside his body, the dryness that coats his mouth more with every passing moment. As night falls, the temperature drops further, but the cold is not as quiet as it seems. He gathers bits of dried brush in an attempt to stave off the deepening chill. His fingers are numb, clumsy as they work. It is a small comfort, a flicker of warmth in a sea of darkness, but in the back of his mind lurks a pervasive thought. How long can he endure this isolation? Nothing prepares you for the silence of the desert at night. It envelops him, a blanket woven from shadows and stillness. He closes his eyes, but sleep eludes him. Instead, reality is a consciousness of discomfort and overwhelming awareness. He listens to the wind's mournful howl, and within it he hears his own despair echoed back. In his mind, he charts the path towards survival. The notion of water, the lifeblood he craves, dominates his thoughts, lending a desperate urgency to every stride he takes. A faint glimmer of starlight pierces the inky spread above him, providing fragmented comfort in an otherwise tormenting void. The sky, once a brilliant blue, is now a tapestry of dark hues emblazoned with pinpricks of silver. Each star stands as a silent witness to his struggle. Out here, beneath the universe's indifferent gaze, Giles wrestles with his own mortality. Panic bubbles beneath the surface, but he forces it back down. It is a battle he cannot afford to lose. He paces the desolate terrain, feeling both small and vast, unanchored amidst a sprawling emptiness. A sudden sound breaks the stillness, water trickling or rushing. Is it the imagined sound that has haunted him for days? He pauses, straining to listen. The world holds its breath with him, but it fades away, leaving only silence, punctuated only by the wind. Reality settles back harshly, reminding him of the parched void deep within him. Giles continues on, each footfall weighted with uncertainty and grit. Movement becomes instinctual as he presses on, but his body is weary, a fragile vessel on the brink of surrender. And as the temperature continues to drop, as the wind shoals around him like the tides, a stark question gnaws at him like a phantom pain. How much longer can he continue before nature claims him as its own? The sun, with its fiery ferocity, will rise again. It is only a matter of time. But the reality he faces, the thirst, the biting cold, the harsh winds, stands tall, indifferent to his plight. The night stretches before him, an endless expanse, and he knows that each passing moment binds him tighter to the inevitability waiting just beyond dawn's light. What little energy he has left fuels his determination not to falter now, not when every instinct screams to press on. But as darkness looms and exhaustion pulls at the edges of his vision, Giles can almost hear nature laughing, wrapping itself around him like a predator stalking its prey. As he makes another resolute step forward into the night, a chilling thought enters his mind. What if the dawn holds nothing but more cruelty? What if tomorrow brings a heat even more intolerable than today? The spectral stars flicker above as he continues, dragging the remnants of hope forward into the unknown, every footfall a steadfast agreement with fate, for now. Chapter 8. A Desperate Message. The landscape stretches endlessly beneath a heavy leaden sky. The biting cold seeps into every bone, each breath a harsh reminder of the chill. This is the realm of isolation, where hope flickers like a candle in a gusting wind. Giles sits on the frostbitten ground, the snow surrounding him a stark canvas. His fingers tremble as he pulls out scraps of cloth from his pack, remnants of the shirts once worn by his companions. The fabric is thin and brittle, each piece reminding him of the warmth that once filled their bodies. Now, the wind howls through the desolation, carrying with it the scent of ice and death. He contemplates the predicament. An overwhelming sense of urgency builds within him. The sun barely skims the horizon, casting long shadows that stretch like fingers, trying to grasp the fading light. Time is slipping away, cruelly fleeting. Giles knows he must leave a mark, a message for those who might one day traverse this icy expanse. The prospect of rescue inches closer in his mind as his determination hardens. He gathers wood from a scattered thicket, the sound of cracking twigs a sharp contrast to the oppressive silence. With each twig placed, the cold gnaws at him. His face, wind-battered and chapped, feels a numbness creeping in. As he constructs a small signal fire, thoughts of failure tug at the edges of his mind. If no one finds him, if this fire never ignites, will he simply vanish into this endless white? The kindling starts to catch, and a sense of warmth blossoms in his chest. Tiny flames lick at the wood, flickering hesitantly, akin to the hope that burns within him. He grabs a pouch of salt from his provisions, a tool to be used sparingly. Could this help somehow? He spreads a thin line in the snow beside the fire as an act of defiance against the encroaching darkness. His hands ache, a reminder of his mortal limits. A gust of wind sends a flurry of snow swirling around him, momentarily snuffing out the flames. Panic swells in his chest, a throat-clutching sensation. A sharp intake of breath fills his lungs with biting cold, but he fights against the urge to give in. He leans forward, body trembling from the effort, desperately coaxing the embers back to life. Frost coils around everything, embedding itself in the fabric of his thoughts. Each moment seems to stretch into eternity, the harsh reality of solitude encroaching once more. But he cannot falter. He will not be defeated by these elements. The fire bursts back into life, its crackling tenderness echoing around the vast emptiness. He prepares a signal, a simple arrangement of stones encircling the fire, a visible plea for help, a sign of life amidst death's cold grip. His message to the world: I am here, I endure. He glances around the frozen wilderness, eyes scanning for any hint of life, accompanied by the haunting whisper of the wind. Hours pass as he chairs this frail flicker of hope, wrapping his scarf tighter to shield himself from the biting cold. As dusk begins to fall, he snatches a piece of charcoal from the edge of the fire, an ember of his defiance. With steady hands, he begins to sketch his final words onto a piece of cloth, his own plea, his desperate message. The words form awkwardly on the fabric, each letter wrought from anguish and urgency. We wait. We are lost. Please find us. With each line, he witnesses the weight of despair settling over him like an anchor. His breath clouds around him, the ink smudging slightly. A flicker of doubt briefly threatens to overwhelm him as he grapples with the enormity of his situation. How many had perished before him? How many had carved words into the void, only for them to fall silent in the face of nature's indifference? Each thought is a chilling reminder of the past, a spectre haunting the periphery of his determination. But resolutely, he finishes the last letter, a finality settling over him. The fabric feels heavy in his hands, burdened with the truth. This may be his only legacy. He carefully positions the cloth atop the stones surrounding the fire, like an offering to the endless void. As twilight deepens, an eerie calm descends upon the landscape. The fire continues to crackle, casting uneven shadows on the snow, a pale glow flickering in the dark. But the chill is encroaching, and hunger gnaws at his stomach. The futility of waiting weighs heavily. Giles's body trembles, not just from the cold, but from the sheer weight of the reality closing in on him. He thinks of the vast expanse beyond, of the wilderness heaves beneath a frozen facade, and with it a sense of isolation that feels impossibly consuming. A damning silence follows. The whisper of falling snow is the only sound as he wrestles with the inevitability of his fate. In the fog of his thoughts, the imagery of his family churns. It feels distant and surreal. An echo of laughter slides through his mind like a muted dream. Could anyone be searching for him? Or would he remain unknown, a fleeting ghost in a land of ice? Gradually the fire begins to dim, the flames shrinking like his dwindling hope. He leans closer, desperate to stave off the darkening effects of the encroaching night. Suddenly, through the stillness, a shiver ripples down his spine. Far beyond the horizon, a shape stirs in the fading light. He squints into the distance, heart pounding. Could it be a figure, a shadow, flickering between the ice-sculpted forms of the natural world? His breath quickens as he leans forward, straining against the shroud of darkness. Yet the shape remains elusive, merging back into the stark landscape. The weight of the unknown presses down as he grapples with the chilling realization. Each passing moment may increase his chance of discovery or seal his fate within the quilt of snow. The flickering flames reflect his racing thoughts. Hope tangles with despair, leaving a bitter taste on his tongue. As the shadows claim their dominion, he reaffirms his resolve. A big and delicate balance rests upon this silent, desperate message. Will it ever be seen, or will it fade along with him into the eternal snow? The tension thickens, a haunting breath in the still air. Amidst the frigid embrace of an unyielding winter, the distress signals echo back to a bustling world, unaware of the depth of despair unfolding. In the year 1886, news of the Grafton's delay awakens concern in nearby settlements. Whispers grow into conversations, and conversations into urgent planning. Authorities gather. They contemplate the perilous circumstances the Grafton's crew might be enduring. Supplies dwindled, temperatures plummeted. It is decided. A rescue party must be formed. The call goes out, binding together men fueled by a mix of duty and desperation. As the heavens blanket the land in powdery white, the assembled group prepares. They look out over the wilderness, aware of its silent hostility. thick snow covers the ground, obscuring the trail, while the biting wind howls like a distant reminder of the isolation that envelops their mission. Boots crunch against the crusted snow. Each sound, like a heartbeat, resonates in the dead air. The temperature hovers near -30, breath misting into icy wisps, hands numb and raw from the chill. The men gather their provisions, packing essential supplies. Food, warm clothing, a few tools. Each item weighs heavily in their minds. The absurdity of the quest is not lost on them. The thin thread of hope linking them to the lost explorers frays with every passing second. Daylight retreats swiftly in these northern latitudes. Shadows stretch ominously, merging with the shadows of their fears. These men march, carrying the weight of potential tragedy on their shoulders. They venture into the sprawling wilderness, setting out toward an unknowable end. With every step, the environment bears down upon them. Flakes fall, gently at first but soon whirl in furious gusts. Visibility narrows until the world transforms into a tunnel of grey. Snowflakes cling to beards and clothing, driven by currents of wind as fierce as any storm might dare summon. Food becomes an obsession, buried beneath the thick, viscous layers of snow. With every fleeting moment, hunger gnaws at their resolve. A meagre ration only serves to fuel the questions. How long can they endure? How far must they push? They huddle close together during brief respites, eyes searching for signs of life, any hint that the men from the Grafton might still be alive. It takes days, each one crammed with the same cold, self-doubting thoughts. They push forward, tracking through a barren landscape. The sun, when visible, offers little warmth. Instead, it casts a dim light upon the canvas of desolation. Winds howl, ripping through poorly constructed shelters at night time. Inside, the shadows of their strength flicker. They share stories of better times, voices low and hushed against the ever-encroaching gloom. Each tale, while brimming with warmth, feels like a fading ember in the face of a relentless cold. Strength falters like a candle in a draughty room. Suddenly, the tension shifts. The men crest a ridge, and below, they see remnants of an old tent, a makeshift shelter abandoned on the snow. The sight breathes life back into their weary minds, but despair lingers heavily. Had someone already perished here? Each footfall becomes more deliberate, each breath calculating and cautious. Rifled through the wreckage, they find shattered wood and fabric, remnants of dreams once vibrant, now crumpled beneath the weight of reality. As they sift through the scattered belongings, a journal appears. Water damaged, yet words halt the storm. It is filled with accounts of suffering, fear, and moments of fleeting hope. The last entry has melted into a mere whisper, a series of scrawled thoughts that hint at despair. Can't go on. Running out of supplies. The men exchange grim glances. This journal stirs memories from their own trials. Each man knows the brink of hope from within. Still, they press on. Each ounce of courage wrapped in layers of clothing becomes a testament to their indomitable will. But every hour ticks by clumsily, dragging them deeper into thoughts of starvation and frostbite. They confront the unforgiving elements, battling exhaustion. Visions of campfire warmth blend with dull memories. Whispers of home blur against the reality of their plight. The frostbitten embers of laughter now turn to muted tones, quaking against the stern cacophony of the wind. They continue forward with one thought: rescue. Finally, nearly a mile along the treacherous path, a flicker of movement catches one man's eye. He halts, breath escaping in vibrant clouds as he scans the horizon. Lifting a hand to shield his eyes, the dusting of snow reveals faint trails. The discovery is fleeting. Was it an animal, or was it a person? Uncertainty swells within them like a tide. They gather once more, now charged with a delicate fervor. A shared glance ignites their hope. Maybe, just maybe, they are close. As they forge ahead, the sun begins its slow descent, casting elongated shadows behind them. The air thickens with tension as darkness encroaches. They are aware of the importance of their time. Every lost moment is steeped in greater risk. Yet, their legs grow heavier with every passing hour. Then, the landscape shifts. The ground becomes uneven, pockmarked and treacherous. They maneuver cautiously, each footfall designed to prevent a slip into an abyss of snow. It is then they hear it, a distant noise. The faint echo of shouts, or was it merely the wind playing tricks? Hastily they climb. The anticipation suffocates the cold, replacing it with fervor. The shivers become electric. They crest another ridge, and despair flinches. Ahead, a solitary figure stands against the backdrop of jagged peaks, cloaked, shadowy, frail. They blink, a gasp of realization. Is this one of the explorers? In the approaching twilight, their hearts quicken, but they must tread carefully. With the battle against the storm still raging and the daylight fading, who is this figure? The line between hope and delusion blurs as they descend from the ridge. As they near, the truth comes looming. It is a man, gaunt and limping, strength drained from his gaunt frame. Relief floods through them, but the deep state of his injuries sends a stark reminder of the harsh reality spinning within this icy labyrinth. The wind howls like a siren, warning of the challenges that lie ahead. Will they find the others? Will they stand united against the relentless grip of nature, or will the wilderness swallow them whole, as it has countless others before? The chilling realization lingers, heavy and sweet, as dusk slips into an unrelenting grip of night. The desperate journey, now entwined with hope, is far from over. Chapter 10. Survival and Sacrifice. The sun dips beyond the horizon, casting long shadows over the parched earth. The air, heavy with dust and the faint scent of blistered shrubs, lingers in the silence. In the heart of Australia's unforgiving outback, two men face the reality of their choice, an expedition deep into the wilderness. Their supplies are dwindling, and the days stretch on like a never-ending slog through despair. The temperature increases each day. The ground, cracked and dry, radiates heat that seems to cling to their skin. Their throats constrict with thirst, each gulp of water now a distant memory. James and Thomas, their faces gaunt and hollow, press on, driven by a desire for discovery that now feels more like a curse than an ambition. The landscape morphs around them, from rolling dunes to jagged rock formations. Each step resonates with a harsh crunch underfoot, amplifying their isolation. They are miles away from any semblance of civilization. Their rations are scant, reduced to the last few remnants of hard biscuits, dry and dusty. The men chew slowly, savoring each bite, as though it may be their last. Days blend into one another, marked only by the unforgiving sun that hangs in the sky. They drink less, rationing what little water they have left. The sun beats down mercilessly, and both men feel its weight pressing upon their shoulders. The heat warps their perception, turning their world into a shimmering haze. The once vibrant landscape fades into muted shades of beige and brown. With every passing hour, desperation wraps around them like a shroud. James's fingers tremble as he clutches his journal, its pages filled with hopes and sketches now lost in the distance of memory. Each word he writes takes energy he can no longer afford. His hands are raw, the skin cracked and blistered from the relentless sun. A gnawing hunger settles deep within his stomach, coiling itself tighter as they walk. There is little left to eat, a few scraps of hardtack, an occasional insect that they manage to catch. Thomas, equally worn, drags his feet, leaving shallow impressions in the baked dirt. The camaraderie that once buoyed them has thinned. Silence hangs heavy between them. On the 7th day, they reach a waterhole, a promise of relief glinting like a mirage. But as they approach, their hearts sink. The water, tainted and foul, brims with debris. Even now, though, they have to make a decision. They are too parched to care. They cup their hands, hesitantly bringing the muddy liquid to their lips, praying it will sustain them against the surging tide of dehydration. Night falls, the temperature plummeting. They huddle together beside a small fire. The flickering flames barely provide warmth, fighting against the chill that seeps into their bones. They speak little, their voices hoarse, each word a reminder of their plight. As fatigue overcomes them, they drift into restless sleep, the sounds of the night amplifying their vulnerability. Whispers of the wind echo through the hollow landscape. The following days bring a cruel reality. With each sunrise, they scan the horizon for any signs of hope, bird life, any movement that suggests the presence of water or food. The sun beats down, blistering their skin, while the chill of night lacks any comfort. They are haunted by hunger, thirst, and a shadow of doubt that looms larger every moment. The notion of sacrifice begins to manifest. They discuss the possibility of turning back, but the fear of retracing their steps entwines with their desperation. Turning back means abandoning their dreams, the allure of discovery now shrouded in a thick fog of uncertainty. It means surrendering to nature, and they cannot accept that yet. Days stretch longer, their bodies grow weaker. Thomas collapses one morning, his breath shallow and uneven. The heat has taken its toll, and he lies on the ground, eyes closed, refusing to move. James kneels beside him, panic seeping into his chest. He must decide. Should he persevere and risk his own survival, or attempt to nurse Thomas back to health? The weight of his choice presses in around him like a vice. A battle rages in his mind. He closes his eyes, swallowing down bile. Survival rests on a razor's edge. Thomas stirs faintly, murmuring words that sound like a farewell. In that moment, James realizes the depth of their bond, forged through shared experience, yet now threatened by the grip of nature. Resolute, he gathers what little remains of their supplies and provisions. As the sun rises once more, a dawn devoid of hope, James makes his choice. He knows he cannot leave Thomas behind, for the wilderness is relentless. He must feed Thomas, even if it means sacrificing his own diminishing rations. A heavy silence settles as he steels himself for the bitter task, using what little strength he has left. He breaks off a piece of the last biscuit, offering it to Thomas. When the sun finally sets, the shadows creep back, stretching across the wilderness. The cold becomes palpable, wrapping around them as James sits vigil next to his companion. He watches as Thomas's breathing stabilizes, even if ever so slightly. There is a slight flicker within his own spirit. Hope wrestles with despair as the night drags on. The stars illuminate the sky like scattered diamonds, but their beauty seems a taunt, the vastness of the universe that watches them suffer without intervention. In the distance, a faint sound reaches James's ears. A rustle, a snap of a twig, perhaps the whisper of a creature. It is not far beyond their camp, a mere shadow at the edge of their vision. He steadies himself, breath held tight in his chest. He knows the cries of desolation that echo through the outback, and the thought of drawing attention to their fragile existence grips him with dread. As dawn breaks, and the horizon glows with pale light, the figures of other men become visible on the far side of the waterhole. Rescue, perhaps. James feels a rush of conflicting emotions. If they are indeed rescuers, what will remain of their journey? What will they find when they reach their destination? The future hangs precariously in the balance. Can James summon the strength to push past the brink of exhaustion? The men may have arrived too late. The cost of survival looms like a shadow overhead. In that weighty stillness, the realization strikes him. The journey they embarked upon is not merely a quest for knowledge, but a testament to the endurance of the human spirit. As they wait for what is to come, a deep realization sets in. The true sacrifice was not just about survival, but the bonds that tether them to one another, deeper than the fear of death itself. With that, they sit, shrouded in mutual respect for their fight against nature, a battle that can only come to fruition against unimaginable odds. A solitary heartbeat resonates within the vast emptiness, echoing the poignant truth of their existence against the relentless power of the outback. Legacy of the Desert. As we draw the curtain on the tale of the Gibson and the harrowing crossing they faced, we confront the echoes of their struggle in the vast, unforgiving expanse of the desert. The relentless sun bore down upon them, and the sand, shifting and oppressive, became a constant reminder of the merciless landscape through which they labored. In these arid regions, familiar comforts erode into nothingness, leaving behind only memories of moisture and respite. Here, the air is thick with the taste of dust, and every breath becomes a torturous reminder of scarcity. Giles and his companion trudged onward, their feet becoming heavy with exhaustion, each step sinking deeply into the sun-baked earth, sapping the last vestiges of energy. Their supplies dwindled, and with every passing hour, the reality of their predicament deepened. Water, once a matter of course, now morphed into a precious, elusive spectre, teasing them with the burden of its absence. The moments dragged, expanding to fill the void brought on by thirst. Each parched throat echoed the memory of cool, refreshing streams that no longer existed in this desolate expanse. The starkness of their environment painted their desperation in weary strokes. With ever-sharpening clarity, they understood that their very survival teetered on the knife's edge of nature's whims. The desert, indifferent to their plight, remained a formidable adversary, a silent witness to their struggle. Time passed in a blur of sunrises and sunsets, each day blending seamlessly into the next, yet marked by an increasing struggle to hold on to hope. The stark horizon stretched far beyond their comprehension, a reminder of the wild freedom and dangers that lay ahead. Each moment spent in this unforgiving landscape was a testament to raw endurance, a fierce grasp at life in a place that seemed to disregard such concepts entirely. Yet, amidst the trials, there remained an indomitable spirit, a flicker of humanity that refused to yield. This journey, though steeped in adversity, etched a story of tenacity in the annals of survival. It underscored the profound connection between human beings and the earth, a relationship fraught with both peril and beauty. Giles's odyssey across the desert stands as a monument to resilience. The legacy of their crossing persists in the silent whispers of the sands and the parched winds that sweep through this harsh terrain. This story reminds us that the struggle against nature is not merely a tale of suffering, but one of defiance, of reaching for something greater against overwhelming odds. As we contemplate their legacy, we are invited to reflect on our own trials, the hardships we face in our lives, and the quiet courage that often blooms in the face of despair. The thirst that once consumed them transcends mere physical need. It becomes a symbol of the human spirit's relentless quest for survival, the ceaseless journey toward life, even when the odds are overwhelmingly stacked against us. In these final moments, we stand at the convergence of history and humanity. A profound realization settles upon us. The weight of their experiences resonates, urging us to confront our own paths with tenacity. If this history has left its mark on you, leave a like. It tells me you survived the journey. Drop a comment below. I want to know what part of this story haunted you most. And as we close this chapter, beckon forth the shadows of our next exploration, where we delve into another account of survival, revealing grim truths woven into the fabric of history. The next tale waits, lurking just beyond the horizon,